Why aren't you cleaning your sandals?
Well, we should be.
We'll have about 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's a big. Yes.
You don't start early. Can't start early. What's the matter? Switch shop, man.
Switch shop in here.
That's all that. All that.
No.
All that stuff you eat, man. That is.
Early onset diabetes.
Maybe it, yeah. Free diabetic. Yeah, something like that. We're not speaking that on you, but you know.
So if I need to take a break during class, please forgive me. I'll go to the back and lay down. Pre-diabetic.
Does the group agree with that? Would it be okay with the group if he just got up and went to his room, took a little nap?
Fine with me.
Fine with him.
Well, that's the first time he's asked permission to break up.
Yeah, that's the first time he's ever, asked permission to just No. You need to stay out here. I'll tell you what, everybody in this group needs the group time. But you're just kind of special. You need it more than most, so you need to stay. Even if you're ill, if you're sick, as long as you're not throwing up on him, stuff like that.
Thanks for understanding.
I feel a little bit better this morning.
Finally, somebody understands you.
Yeah. I feel a whole lot better this morning, so, and I appreciate all of that. I appreciate you guys being in group on time and all that stuff. Please excuse me if I stop every now and then and take a drink of the tea over there. That's like yesterday. I drank some of that and it worked out pretty well. That's throat coat.
Did you get it from Whole Foods?
Say it again.
Did you get it from Whole Foods?
I don't know where my wife got that, but I doubt it. She doesn't go there that I know of. And it's got a little honey in it and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it really helped yesterday. So, all right, this morning, the first thing we're going to do is say good morning, happy Friday to everybody here and over at North. I was at North earlier this morning, and I got your stuff put in there. And so thank you for putting all of the stuff in the box where I can access it. And I'll be back over there a little after lunch today to access it again. But make sure that you get your name on the sign-in list this morning. Yesterday, there was a person who was in group, and I knew they were in group, and I looked at them in the eyeball, and I knew they were here, but their name wasn't on the list anywhere. Now, I will tell you, because I looked and I knew that person, I put them on the list, and I gave them credit for being here. But, you need to get credit for the group. There's a certain number, I think it's like 290 or something. There's a certain amount of hours that you have to have for your counselor to declare you having completed successfully. So it's important for you to make sure that your number's on there. And that's not a thing that, Mr. Farmer has decided or Miss Cynthia has decided or the counselors. That's the state. They're paying for our treatment. And so the state says this is the amount of hours you will get. And so it's important for you to us to be able to see that and get that on your thing. And I've had a counselor just this morning poking in my ear, so make sure you get enough hours. Everybody brought their book. Everybody's excited about their book. They're excited about the program and getting into recovery. This morning we're going to be talking a little bit about, we're going to be talking for a couple hours in here about thinking about what I'm thinking about and how that connects in with our families and stuff like that. I know that y'all have heard me use that term several times in here, but what's a really good blessing for me is that none of you really get it sunk in there. So if I use it again, it's like you heard it for the first time. I'm being facetious. Come on. But we need to be thinking about what we're thinking about and how that relates to our family. So we're going to talk about a thing this morning about how to deal with some of that stuff. And it's pretty good. When I was researching it and studying it, I liked it. It's not as extensive as I'd like it to be, but it's okay. So we're on the fifth thing on family health, the fifth day on family health. We've gone through, just on page 21 in your book, we've gone through all of the stages that's going to look like when we get out of here. I have had some people go out and their family just poo-poo them entirely. Family doesn't like me anymore. They've thrown me away, all of that kind of stuff. What can that lead to?
Depression and usage. Depression.
It can lead to depression, anxiety, relapse, because that can help me really quickly get into a victim stance, right? And if I get into a victim stance, what am I going to do?
Relapse.
I probably will, because what a victim stance is a place where, nobody loves me, everybody hates me. It doesn't matter if I stay sober, so I'm a victim. Okay, so nobody needs to be a victim. And I used to have a sign, we're trying not to put anything in the offices right now because we're going forward. We're going to have a concept where we're just kind of officelessness. We don't have an office. We're just kind of floating. So, having said that, we're trying not to put a lot of stuff in the office, But I used to have all kind of signs and stuff in my office. I don't have that anymore. And I've talked to myself long enough this morning that I forgot what I was going to tell you. But we're going through these phases. We were estranged, then we got to a place where we had moved from estranged into insecure, then middle ground. And then we had moved to willing partners, which is a really good place for me to be, to have my family as willing partners in my recovery efforts. That is so helpful. Miss Casey was talking with some folks the other day, and she was talking with family members. And the family members are very supportive, and the family members are really happy to help and all that stuff. That is so very important because there's so many families out there that are not quite that way. Why? They don't trust us anymore. Can they trust us? No, my family trusts me to go back out, steal something from them, get drunk, wreck my car. That's what my family trusts me to do. I can guarantee you I've been sober for as long as some of you guys have been alive, exactly as long as Parker there's been alive. But, my family still looks at me with a suspicious eye. Okay, they knew who I was when I was who I was, right? And that to me is kind of reprehensible. It's not a good. At some point, people need to look and say, okay, but see, they still know what I'm capable of. You kill 2 or 3 people, and people never let you live it down. It's just like that. So anyway, the last one. This is our Friday thing, and this is the last portion of that. Those steps, those stages that we're going to go through. Let me ask you this. Once you get to that stage, is it done? No. We still have to continue working at it. And if we do something, say something, act a certain way or something, we can slip back into some lesser stages. And so we need to learn that, hey, we're going to be moving back and forth in those stages. And I don't need to really judge myself about where I am today. Right? Because I'm going to move to the next stage. And I may I'm looking at moving through all of those stages, and if I possibly can, I want to stay over there on that best stage. That's where I want to stay. But if I go back and forth, whether it's my fault or not, I don't need to judge myself on that, because here's one of the things. Even if we get into our recovery and we stay in our recovery for years and years and years and years and years and years and months and days and years, we're still human beings. And we're still going to get our feelings hurt. We're going to get angry. We're going to say stuff. We know when we're saying it, and or while we're saying it, this I should not be saying. I should not be doing this. But we do it anyway. So that messes us up. So here's the last one of them. Loyal and honest. That look, you have established relationships that exemplify reciprocal loyalty and honesty. What does reciprocal mean?
Back and forth.
Back and forth? That's a good way to say it. Yeah, I love you and you love me back. Right? I respect you, you respect me back. Right? Now I'm going to be honest with you. You're going to be honest back. So that's a big deal. In which you and the other party are generally and mostly interested in actions that are mutually beneficial. Missteps and conflicts are rare and evolve from genuine, unintentional conduct or action. This is a really good place to be in our family. But if you'll see there, it says, look, mistakes and missteps are still made. And that's going to be that way forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. We're never going to get to a place of perfection, are we? Here's the other thing we need to remember, that your family, my family, they're never going to get to that place either. And I know what I need from them. They may not be ready, able, or capable of giving me what I need from them right now. So where do I get it? Get it from my higher power.
Your peers.
Get it from some peers that happen to be sober peers. Get it from my AA group. Get it from my sponsor. All of those things. I want to get that family vibe from all of those other people until my biological family decides that I can have some from them as well. Right? So we've moved a long way in that, and that's a good thing. So this morning we're going to talk about a little bit about looking at some of the thinking that we're thinking about. We do need to pay attention to what's going on up here. We need to pay attention to what I'm thinking. Do anybody here ever have any negative thoughts?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. I was having quite a few yesterday. And I'll tell you, I had a good excuse. People were just treating me nasty. No, that's not it. I did have, when I feel bad, when I'm not at 100%, then sometimes, I will have these negative thoughts. And that's not the reason I'm having the negative thoughts, but it is a good excuse for bad behavior. See, we have one lady that was wearing the taps on her shoes, and now you'll notice more and more of them are wearing the taps. It's just a little loud when they come in. But anyway, when I'm feeling bad, sometimes those negative thoughts find an easier access into my brain. And I'm thinking negative thought. So what do you do when you're thinking a negative thought?
Recognize it.
And man, that's the very first thing. I have to recognize that I am thinking negatively. That's a negative thought. I can think negative thoughts about myself. I can think negative thoughts about other people. I can think negative thoughts about the world. I can think, and all of those things, they can come up pretty quickly. Y'all know that one of my favorite old rock and roll groups is the Marmalade, and their biggest song is "Reflections of My Life." And one portion in that song says the world is a bad place. It's a sad place. It's a terrible place to live. But I don't want to die. But here's the deal. If I'm thinking the world is a sad place and a terrible place and a bad place to live and all of that kind of stuff, how am I going to react to the world? Negatively. If I'm thinking that about other people, I'm going to react to them in a negative way. Right? So just like you said, I need to recognize my bad thinking. I need to recognize those negative thoughts. And then what do I do? Refute them. I need to come against them. I need to refuse them in my mind. I need to say to myself, the world's not really that bad a place. They thought it was a bad place and a sad place and a terrible place to live. So where else are you going to live? I mean, God created this for us, and it's not, look. I was out there this morning walking around, and it's pretty nice out there. I got out this morning, took a good look at the stars up there it was probably about 6 o'clock in the morning this morning. Man, that was a beautiful sky. This is a pretty neat place to live. It's a whole lot better than some alternative. So, real quickly this morning, and what do I mean when I say real quickly? Nothing. It's just another group of words to say. It's just like when the pastor takes his watch off and puts it on the podium. What does that mean?
He doesn't have to wear his watch.
He doesn't have to wear his watch. It don't mean anything. Oh man, dang. And it's not supposed to, because that's God's time. So one of the best things we can do for ourselves is to avoid the problems before they begin. We need to avoid problems before we have to deal with them. We need to know how to deal with problems, because let me share something with you, and I don't really like to share this, but let me share this anyway. More than likely, we're going to have some problems in our life. Some of you are kind of young, and more than likely, you're going to have more than one problem. You may have 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 problems as you go down through your life, and you need to know how to deal with those problems, right? But a better thing is if we could deal with the problem before the problem became a problem, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to talk about this morning is pre-problem dealing with. One of the best things we can do for ourselves is to avoid problems before they begin by training our brains to think ahead. We want to think ahead a little bit so that we can recognize when antisocial opportunities present themselves, and then we can avoid them. You know, if I say this, if I do that, if I react this way to something somebody else said, this is what's going to happen in the group here as a whole. This is what's going to happen in society as a whole. This is what's going to be the outcome if I let that happen in my life. It's going to be an anti-social something or other. If I decide I'm going to go down and rob the local liquor store, is that antisocial?
How many people do you bring with you? Yes, you do.
How many people are you going to bring with you so you make it a social event? See how addicts think? Oh, we'll take my brother with me. Yeah, it's a family thing. Yeah, okay.
It ain't premeditated.
If it's not premeditated, okay. If it's not premeditated, and that's a good point. How many liquor stores get robbed by mistake? Or robbed by somebody that just was there, had a gun and a mask, and said, well, since I'm here, and I got a gun, and I got a mask, let's do it. Okay. Sometimes it can, sometimes you can be standing out front, minding your own business, and somebody comes by there and says, hey, man, let's that can happen. I have a cousin who went to prison for, I forget how many years. His name is Redale, Redale, Redale. And he was just walking through Meridian, Mississippi, and he saw three guys standing over there. He knew these guys. So he went over there and stood with them. They were just talking and all of this kind of stuff. All of a sudden, about 12 police cars pulled up, got them all, and took them to jail. Riddell was going, what? One of the guys that had been leading those guys, he had went a different way. He left. And those guys were standing there talking about that they had just robbed something.
Yeah.
And Riddell went up there and was talking to them about other stuff. They didn't say anything. But not one of those guys who was supposed to be his buddy friend, not one of them said he didn't have anything to do with that. And so he's standing there all the way through. He talked to the judge. He talked to everybody else. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. What they had was descriptions of 4 guys who went into that place. He fit the description. He spent like three jails in years. He spent 3 years in jail too. Yeah, or some kind. I don't know if it was 3 years, but I know he went to jail and he stayed there for a minute. You talk about somebody that comes back out of the correctional system bitter. It was super hated police the rest of his life, super bitter, and you can understand. But that's correct. Yeah, you could do it. Don't even know what's going on. So we're going to look at some pre-problem solving skills. If I'm going to do it, how am I going to do it? If I'm going to do some pre-problem solving skills, this will give us smart power. What is smart power?
Common sense. Common
sense. That's a really good way to look at smart power. There is an acronym for SMART, S-M-A-R-T, but that's not what we're looking at. Today we just want to know that smart power gives me the ability to look at something and say, that's not going to turn out well. Or that has the propensity not to turn out well. That could turn out for me very poorly. It could also turn out for all of those guys that are going to be with me very badly. This may not be a good idea, right? Remember the first time somebody said, hey, try some of this. It'll make you feel different. It'll make you feel good. Yeah, remember that something somewhere in our brain should have said, that may not be the best idea, right? And I will tell you this, that most of the time that did, but we weren't equipped. When I started, I don't remember having that thought. And when I had my first drink, I was just excited and all of that stuff. I don't think I had any, but I was 8. At 8 years old, you don't really have any experience that you can fall back on. Now I have tons and tons and tons of experience. I know exactly what would happen if I went and had a shot of vodka or bourbon or a couple of beers. I know exactly what would happen. So guess what? I ain't gonna do that. Yeah, that's like I saw a cartoon the other day where a kid was about to stick a fork in the power outlet, and mom is running to help him, and dad is saying, "No, let him. He'll learn something." That's it. Yeah. So anyway, free problem solving skills give us smart power. We got that smart power going on for us, and we can recognize the negative consequences that could result from bad choices. Now, we said they could. You think anybody's ever robbed a liquor store and got away with it? Yeah. Oh, sure. There you can walk by. You don't know. You could be talking to somebody out there that's a mass murderer. You don't know. There's people who have gotten away with crazy stuff for years and years and years and years and years. And then there's people who've gotten away with crazy stuff for their whole entire life. Their whole entire life. And, they've never gotten caught and all of that kind of stuff, but it's just kind of like winning the lottery, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
If you go buy a ticket, are you absolutely sure you're going to win? Well, of course not. Nobody ever wins that until they do. Some guy won all those billions of dollars up there, destroyed his life. That guy's probably, that's the worst thing in the world that could happen to somebody, but it happened to him. And he thought it was going to be the best thing in the world, but about somewhere up in the 80s, high 70s or 80s, of people who win the lottery, they die broke. They don't know how to deal with money. Several of them have committed suicide because they go, got 7, 8, 10, 12, however many millions of dollars. Then they blow it in Las Vegas or something like that, and all of a sudden they're back where they were. They're not at the top of the world anymore. They blow the brains out. Okay. I don't need all that. The door done be opened up. Okay. All right. So that and that's the big deal. This smart idea allows us to look at the consequences. I think before we do anything, we ought to be able to look at those consequences and say, hey, this is what's on the other side of that decision, right? This is what's going to happen if I do this. And if I go ahead and do it, okay, I know the consequences, and at that point in time, I am prepared to deal with the consequences if I have to, right? If I have to do that, I'm going to deal with the consequences, right? If somebody is running in a place and they're really raging and they're angry and all of this stuff, and you see them headed toward a whole bunch of innocent people, what are you going to do? You're going to stop him. That's you have to have that thought ahead of time. You have to look ahead of time. If I jump in front of that raging bull, what are the consequences? Maybe, look, the good consequences, he's running toward a bunch of weak people. I may be able, as a stronger person, to stop that person from getting to the weak person. But what's going to happen to me? You got to be willing to accept the consequences. You might get beat down, right? Oh, yeah. I've been in a few little scraps in my life. Some of them I won. But I never left one of them. I was, totally untouched. They always got 1 or 2 in. And oh my goodness, those, even if you won, it ain't good. Oh my God, I really decided early in my life, I'm really against getting punched in the mouth. I don't like that. I don't want that. So if you're going to do something like that, you've got to know the consequences, being willing to accept them, to be part of that. So here's the deal. We can recognize the negative consequences that could result from a bad choice and then be able to say no. I've talked to a bunch of people and say, well, yes, I knew it was wrong. Well, yes, I knew that I could go to jail. Well, yes, I knew all of that, but I did it anyway. Why are you gonna do it anyway? I had a kid stole my credit card. Stole my credit card. Went to buy some donuts. Opened my wallet. There's no credit card. No, that's not true. I went to buy gas and got out to buy my gas, and there was no credit card. But I remembered pulling my credit card out at the donut shop. So I'm thinking it's at the donut shop. That guy never gave it back. Somebody never got it. But finally figured out who got my credit card, and I'm sitting down talking to this guy, and I said, "Why would you steal my credit card?" I wanted the phone. What? Yeah, I wanted the new phone. So you're gonna buy your new phone with my credit card? You do know you don't know the PIN to my credit card. So you got your butt in some trouble. But even if you don't know the PIN, my credit card got a 4-number PIN, and it would take a million different tries to eventually get. You're not going to get that, unless you know it. So we can say no. Now here's the deal about it: we can develop these free problem-solving skills and get ourselves to a place where we can say no to some of the bad behavior. So how are we going to do that?
Think about it.
Think about it. Yeah, we need to think about what we're thinking about. We need to take a look at, hey, I'm thinking about robbing that liquor store. I just saw him. He moved. He had a whole bunch of money in there. I used to know a guy, and my dad used to do this. He'd get paid back when my dad was getting paid. He probably made $125 a week, no money. But he would get all of his pay in $1 bills except for two. He'd have a 10 or 20 on the top and a 10 and a 20. He'd have a wad of bills like that. He's walking around and, okay, that's just advertising. I'm amazed. I don't remember him ever getting rolled, ever getting robbed, but, I'm amazed that he didn't. People will take you down for $10 or $20. And he had what looked like thousands of dollars, but only about 100, but still. So one of the ways we do that, we're going to talk about this here in just a little bit. You can develop these pre-problem solving skills by using the Pokey C steps. And we're going to talk about the Pokey C steps in just a minute up here. And there's a thing we're going to look at too called the PU.
You said the PU?
PU, yeah, like it stinks. PU. So we're gonna look at that too in just a minute. But these are the concepts that will give us smart power, and you know them. You've heard them every day, and you know what they are, and you use them. I've seen people in here use them. I have seen people go through a thought process in their mind. I've had people be angry. And they're getting in my face about this far. Not this group. You guys are just, y'all nice, kind, good, and sweet. But, get right there. And then I see they make another decision in their mind. They come up, I'm going to beat him. Okay. All right. So how you going to brag about that? I'll beat that guy up. Yeah. Yeah, he's 72. I'm 3 times his size. It was kind of a foregone conclusion, So, but how you gonna brag about it? You can't brag about that. No, you can't get none of that. Now, if I beat Mark up, I can get some points for that there. Yeah, I can get some points. They say you beat him, yeah. I'll whoop his, But you can't. But he can't get any for whooping me, right? If he can't whoop me, he's in bad shape. Yeah. So here's the deal. These are some of the belief concepts behind smart power. These are some of the things we need to believe. This person here has what? A green dress on. I didn't outline this for the guys over at North, but this is a young lady this morning, and she's looking up at thinking about what I'm thinking about, and one of the things she has. What's that?
Personal power.
Personal power. This young lady has personal power. Guess who else has personal power? You do. You have personal power. I've had so many people tell me in anger management that I just couldn't help myself. That's not true. We all can deal with our own emotions. We all are in charge of our own emotion. And so that's something we have to teach. So here's the deal. You have personal power to make your own choices. Now, other people can influence you. And I know your mama has already told you, you ought not be hanging out with them boys. You ought not be hanging out with them girls. You know, they ain't doing right. So you don't need to be hanging out with those people. But they can influence your choices just a little bit. The police can influence your choices a little bit. They've influenced mine a little bit. Don't drink and drive. We're going to come get you. You know, don't rob that station. Don't rob that liquor store. We're going to come get you. Don't beat up that old lady. We're going to come get you. You know, they can influence your choices a little bit, but let me share this. You have the personal power to make your own choices. This is the first thing we have to understand, realize, and believe if we're going to have that pre-problem thing in place. It is up to me. I need to take a look, see what I'm thinking, and then make a really good choice about that. I have the opportunity to do that. So I can make these, I have the power to make choices. There's two types of choices. What are they?
Good and bad.
Good and bad? That's pretty much it, yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good way to say it. Just good and bad. But one choice is pro-social. And the other choice is antisocial. One choice is pro-social. I have needs. I don't have a car. I don't have any money in my pocket. I won't have to go to my mama's house and sleep in the back room. She probably feeds me a little bit, but I don't have any of this stuff. So I'm thinking I'm going to knock over that liquor store. I can do a lot of stuff there. I can get some money in my pocket. They got cigarettes. I can get some cigarettes. I can get some candy. They got candy. And I can get a bottle of booze. I can get all of the stuff that I really want, really need right now in the next 10 minutes because I do have a little old 25 automatic that, my daddy left me. I got that. So I can go do that. And then I'm pretty sure, look, here's one of the fallacies. What is fallacy?
Fake belief.
What is it?
A fake belief.
A fake belief. Something I'm lying to myself about. Anybody that's ever done something like that always thought they could get away. Yeah.
I hate to ask, but this coffee is running through me. Can I go to the bathroom?
I wish it would. We've all been sitting around here saying, man, we wish that guy in the orange shirt would go to the bathroom.
Well, yeah.
So, the guy that shot Charlie Kirk the other day, what did he do after he shot him?
He tried to stab himself.
No, that was another guy.
Oh,
He ran off the end of the building he was on. He jumped off of the building and he took off running. Why did he do that?
He knew it was wrong to do.
He knew it was wrong to do.
thought he could get away with it.
He thought he could get away. He thought he could shoot and kill a person and get away. He wasn't real smart. He didn't have a mask on or anything like that. When he hit the ground, he looked up at the camera across the street. They took his picture. His mama called the police. That looked like my son,
Yeah.
Okay. So he didn't think that out. But that's what we do when we go in and we rob something or we do something that we know is antisocial. This is not that bad choice. is antisocial. But almost always we're thinking, I can do this and get no consequences. I can get away. And sometimes we do. Sometimes people do. Like we said earlier, there's people who got away from that or away and didn't get the consequences from that. But it's, again, like hitting the lottery. Most of the time, you're going to get the consequences. You know.
Especially nowadays, they got all those cameras.
Oh yeah, you can't do anything without it being seen. So the thing is that that's the power. That's one of the power things that I have. I can make a pro-social choice, or I can make an antisocial choice. If I need some money, what should I do?
Work.
What was that?
Work.
Work for it. You know, we do a thing that's what's a good way to make money? If working is a good way to make money, what am I going to do? I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a job. Now, I have had people tell me, I just robbed that guy to hold myself over until I get a job. I had anything. I needed a few bucks. So, okay. So I'm trying to make a pro-social choice. But in order to make a pro-social choice, I'm going to have to make a anti-social choice. I had when I was a kid. I'm growing up. I was about 13 or so, 12 or 13. I had a friend of mine. We got talking about, okay, we're gonna become superheroes. Now, we didn't have any, extra human abilities. Yeah, we couldn't fly. We didn't have any, super strength or super speed or anything like that. But, our hero at the time was Batman. He didn't have any either. Robin had even less. Yeah, but they did have some neat suits. And they had some neat costumes, and they ran around, they threw stuff at people and all that kind of stuff. So he and we were talking about this, and we said, that's what we'll do. We're going to become, Batman-like people. We're going to get us some black suits, and we're going to come up with some stuff, and then in the middle of the night, we're going to go out, and we're going to get all the criminals in town. That sounded like a good idea. Of course, we're 12, 13, something like that. And so what we came up with, there was a store over there. We didn't have any money. We couldn't buy the stuff we needed to become superheroes. So what we needed to do was be a supervillain for a little while until we got the money so that we could become superheroes, right? And so we're going to go rob that place. That way we would have enough money to get us a suit and some training, whatever we needed. And we'll make up for it because we're going to do good stuff after that. Right? See, that is a antisocial thought that we thought would lead to a pro-social thought. That's not anywhere there's an antisocial thing in there, it ain't the right thing to do. Right? So we have the personal power to make a choice. That's an amazing thing. Who gave you that personal power to make a choice? God Almighty. And look, sometimes I'm going to tell you, have you ever made the wrong choice? I have made the wrong choice so many times. And I look back down through my life and say, why on earth?
Did I do that?
Yeah, why did I do that? Why on earth would I do something stupid like that? Why did I do that? That was so bad. Thank God. But that's, God gives us gifts. The Bible says God gives gifts to men and women. And I will tell you this, that's one gift sometimes I've been a little remiss in having. Because sometimes I wish he would just make me like a worm. And what's a worm do? A worm does what a worm does. He don't get outside of what a worm does. He does what a worm does. We do all sorts of crazy stuff, because God gave us free choice. Worms don't have free choice. They do what they do. So sometimes I would like to have the worm nature. But I don't. So we do have that power. What do pro-social behaviors do? Well, if we make the pro-social choice, what does that do?
Does it stop you from getting into the consequences?
Stops you from having to deal with any consequences you really don't want to deal with. I can remember when the police came to get me. I was in a little place, and I had a '68 Dodge Charger, and I got stuck, and I went back and forth until I blew my transmission out. I had a 3 on the deal, and it's just tore my transmission out. And I'm standing outside the car. I'm not driving the car or anything. I'm not sitting behind the wheel. But the police came up. There was an older gentleman that came over and offered some help. And I'm not, I'm inebriated. So I told him, we don't need your stinking help. And so he said, okay. He happened to have a radio in his car, a telephone in his car. Back then, that was a big deal. You had to have this great big old thing in the back of your trunk and all that to have a car. But he happened to have one of those. So he called the police, and about 10 minutes later, here they were. And what do you think the first question they asked me?
How did you go to
They said, who was driving? And I said, that's my car. Who do you think was driving? That's my car, man. They said, well, won't you get in my car? I said, sorry, I don't want to go with you. But I did. And so I got DWI for that, and all of that. The car was broken. All of this stuff. So I was making some pretty bad things. But pro-social behaviors are going to strengthen society. Like the song said, the world is a bad place. It's a sad place. It's a terrible place to live. If we make pro-social decisions, then it's going to strengthen pro-social things right where we are. Some of the, yes, sir. Okay. You don't have it yet?
Well, you said the person made that song, terrible person, terrible place. So maybe they should listen to Louis Armstrong.
I didn't hear that.
Louis Armstrong.
So one word.
It really is.
Yeah, it is a wonderful world. And I'm thinking these guys, what were they doing when they came up with that song?
I think it'd be nice.
No, they're a Scottish group.
Oh,
They were. Most of them going on to their reward now. But they wanted to go home. Or he wanted to go home, the lead singer. And his home was in Scotland. So he was talking about reflections of his life. And, said sunlight, the changing of sunlight to moonlight, reflections of my life, how they fill my eyes, the meeting of people in trouble, reflections of my life, how they fill my eyes, and then it's take me back to my own home, because the world is about, so all of that kind of stuff. But antisocial behaviors, what do they do to society? They weaken society. I've been to some apartment complexes where there are, they're just killing and stabbing and all this kind of crazy mess. If those people decided to make pro-social decisions, then they would have a nice place to live. They wouldn't allow drugs to be sold in there. They wouldn't allow fighting. They wouldn't allow guns and knives to be used on each other. It would be a good place to live. But since people don't do that, it's a horrible place to live. There's an apartment complex right across the street from our church, and you can hear gunfire over there at night. People, it's just not a good place to live. And I'm over there all the time, but I don't go by myself. The Holy Spirit goes with me, so I'm untouchable when I'm in there. I've had some people run past me pretty quick, but that's because God was chasing them, not me. So pro-social things strengthens our society, makes it a better place to live. Antisocial decisions and antisocial behavior makes it a worse place to live. That makes it where that song can sometimes be true, right? So they weaken it. Now, here's the other thing we need to understand about our thoughts, our choices. What do choices have? Consequences. Every choice that we make has consequences connected to it. Every action has an equal reaction. Say it again.
Reaction. Equal and opposite.
Equal and opposite reaction. All right, every choice has consequences. Whatever choice we make, whatever decisions we make, and whatever actions we take, something's going to happen. Something good or something bad will happen as a result. Now, when we say every choice, is that true? No, probably, like we said, sometimes we're going to get away with it. Sometimes we're going to get away with it. Is that a good plan?
No.
Well, and the reasoning behind that, have you ever done anything that you shouldn't do and you got away with it?
Yeah.
Yes, of course I have. Do you think about that from time to time?
Yeah.
Does that still come back to your memory from time to time? Does that still, every now and then when the police go by, did they find out? Is he looking for me? You know, and I don't know why this is. Of course, my wife suffers from high anxiety, but we were driving down the road, going somewhere early in the morning, and she had, at that time, this was 30 years ago, she had a little TR7. Y'all remember those things? A little sports car with the engine in the back and all of that stuff. And we were on Highway 10 out there, and we weren't going all of that fast. We were doing the speed limit and all of that stuff. Suddenly, there's a cop behind us. And, okay, I'm pulling over. I was driving. It's her car, but I'm pulling over. And she's freaking out. She's scared to death. And I'm thinking, look, you're not a criminal. We haven't done anything. Maybe we got a light out or something he's going to tell us about. We haven't done a thing. So you shouldn't be, So I got out confident, got out of the car confidently. I don't have a problem. I haven't done anything, So when the policeman, and you'll never believe it, I didn't believe it, the policeman was out there behind me, he was walking up, and I said, okay, officer, Actually, he came to the door and asked me to get out, I said, I got out, and I said, why on earth did you stop it? He said, well, I just wanted to look at your car. I said, what? He said, yeah, at 2 o'clock in the morning, when somebody's driving a car like this, there's usually something. When I got out of the car, he knew I wasn't doing anything because, so he said, would it be possible for me to look at the engine? Just a little thing about like that opened up and, okay. And he was nice as he could be and all of that kind of stuff. Of course, he stopped me at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to get home, take a nap. But of course, when the police stopped me, guess what? They ain't never met a nicer guy in their life. And I tell you, 99% of the time they give me a warning. They say, don't do that anymore, Doc. And be careful with your speed, all that kind of stuff. Okay, I drive out of there. I had a guy that worked for me. And man, when the police stopped him, he had so many tickets and stuff, we finally had to let him go. But when the policeman stopped, he'd almost come sailing out of the car. He's screaming and cussing and yelling at him, and the cop, what the heck? All I'm doing, you were speeding. It ain't like you've killed 9 people. You're finna get shot, though. And his name was Joey. And Joey would just go nuts on those people. And, I'm going, oh my God, he got a ticket every time they stopped him. 2, sometimes 3 tickets. I don't get tickets. First off, I don't speed all that much. But when they stop me, in my mind, I say, okay, this can go one way or it can go the other way. If it goes the other way, it's not going to be my fault. It's not going to be my fault. So, pro-social, every choice we have has consequences. Sometimes it's good or something bad will happen as a result. Your choices are based on what you think will happen. My choices are based on what I think will happen. If I think I can get away with it, I may choose to do it. Now, if I'm thinking that, hey, even if I get away with it, it's going to be stuck with me the rest of my life. I'm going to be looking over my shoulder all the time. I'm going to be wondering if that policeman's got me. I'm going to be wondering if that ambulance that's running down through there or that fire truck that's running down through there is actually a cop coming to get me. And I don't want to live like that. So I'm going to be thinking about that. So your choices are based on what you think will happen, but here's where a lot of times we go in the wrong direction. We need to be thinking about what we're thinking because your first thought may be wrong. I've heard that old saying, you need to think twice.
Follow the first line.
Say it again.
Follow the first line.
Yeah. We need to be thinking about it. And look, it's okay to think twice about a thing, right? I remember a certain politician whose name will forever be lost in the annals of hell and degradation and all. But when he had something he wanted to do, it's got to happen right now. Well, look, it's been like that for 35 years. We got to change it right now. Well, let's wait a couple minutes. Because if we change it, 300 people are going to have a problem. It's got to happen. No, it doesn't. I'm going to think about that. There was another politician that said they had a bill going through the House, and it was like, they make those bills with 700,000 pages. And this lady said, well, you have to pass the law before you can read it. Now, I want to think about it. Sometimes I need to go over what's in my mind to see if that might be the right thing or maybe the wrong thing. I need to know. Because, but your first thought could be the wrong thing, so you really need to think twice. Think about it. Rethink what you just thought about. Right? Might be fun, might not be. But here's the deal. If I'm doing something that is antisocial and I'm going to go do something that I know I shouldn't do, who's responsible for the fallout?
You are.
You are. And you are in all instances. Y'all know about blackouts.
Yeah.
When I drink enough or I use enough, I black out. Now, that's not passing out. Passing out, you go sleep. In a blackout, yeah, you don't remember a thing, but you're still operating. You're still doing stuff. You're still driving your car. You're still talking to people. You're still doing a lot of the time, and this is freaky, but a lot of the time you can operate better when you're in your blackout than when you're not in the blackout. And the reasoning behind that is because your subconscious has taken over, knows what you need to do, and is just doing it on an automatic thing, right? So what that really is, that is alcohol or drug-induced amnesia. You actually have amnesia, and you'll never know what you did during a blackout. I've had several of them. I have no idea what I did. I will never have any idea what I did. But are you still responsible for what you did?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. We show a film, and we used to show a film that showed this kid that got into a blackout, and he was trying to take his friend home, and got his friend in his truck and went down the road and made a turn, and the truck flipped over. His friend got killed,
Wow.
and it broke his neck, so they put it all back together, but he can't turn his neck, he has to turn like that. But his friend is dead. So what happened to him? Yeah, he's in prison. He's probably out by now, but he went to prison for vehicular manslaughter or something like that. He did go to jail, and he doesn't remember it at all. Doesn't have any recollection of it at all, because it was an amnesiac episode, and so he doesn't know what he was doing. So, but we're still responsible. You are responsible for any harm you cause others or society as a whole. You have to pay for it in one way or another. You have to make amends to correct it.
Yes, sir.
If you do something that's egregious enough, you have to go to jail for that. You have to go to prison for that. And so, you know, the best thing is to stop it, halt it before it happens. So we do pre-problem solving. Several places I could stop. If I know I'm a little bit too wasted, I don't get in the car. I don't drive the car. If I'm over here and I think I need to have a drink today and I decide not to have it, then I don't have to make the choice of getting in the car or not. So as I back it up, the farther I want to go, there's always that place back there that I can make a difference. I can change some things. But whatever the consequences are, they're mine.
Yeah.
And I have to deal with it. So when we get back right after break, we're going to look at five steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 steps to pre-problem solving. So we're going to take a look at all of those steps. We'll talk about each one of those steps. That's going to help us in our pre-problem solving. But right now, before we get started on that, we're going to go ahead and take our break. So y'all come back at about 15 after, and we'll start back.
Sir, you keep using the SMART acronym. Is that the same acronym that you use for setting goals?
Yes.
Specific, measurable, articulatable, realistic, and time bound?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where SMART comes from. Well, I think we'll get it.
Oh, yeah. Tell that to the goal. I forget. Tell them that's that's the size of the world. Yeah, something. But I had water. It was WHWH. Well, it said that I pulled it off of the screen. She was on first shift. But it's supposed to be, but I'm gonna put the driver. The fire run. I can't believe it. Who is this son of Papilla? Oh, what you say, though? Oh, I'm coming in soon now. Huh? I say, oh, I'll be coming in pretty soon now. Who? Chef. Oh, give up me. Oh, is she coming in already? I said, should be getting ready to come in soon. I hope so. She said that's how I feel water.
Huh?
Do that. You fill up secret bottle.
She gone? Nah, I was trying to get her. I was trying to get her to see. But you said the back of the still name church. But I'm like, yeah, but I was trying to get that. See if she'll check it back out of the street. She might do that. If she do, let her know that's what I want. Let her know that's what I want to see. Go to that street mission. Let her know the church is. So, I got you.
And 06 for our self administration to the so
How you doing?
Hey,
She lives on April.
what kind of papers was it? To do
Computer.
looking at, right here. That might be a copy.
Well, that's deep.
That's it, that was something.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she's doing that, science.
Oh, she wants you to sign stuff?
Yeah.
Well, you might have to give her a better.
Oh, what a,
That's just that one side. She probably left with Rebecca.
yeah,
You can just leave that paper here.
no, she said it's okay that I'm supposed to take and sign and put it into the resident.
You probably go to see the
No, that's she's the way to go with it. Yeah. I was in the
Let's go back and see Rebecca.
She outside smoking.
In and out. What's your card?
All right, we're back. We're gonna appreciate y'all all making it back to group on time. So we're gonna look at the 5 steps of pre-problem solving. Now, you know, we all know how to problem solve. We're all intelligent, and you guys know we've been teaching how to problem solve and all of that kind of stuff. Now we're going to look at these 5 different things that's going to help us to problem solve. So the very first thing is, what do you think?
Recognize.
Say it again.
Recognize.
Recognizing it. That's what he said. So, very first thing.
Think about it.
Think ahead. What does thinking ahead mean?
Think about it when you do it.
Think about it before you do it. Think about who it's going to impact. Think about how it's going to impact you and how it's going to impact other people. So think ahead of possible problem-causing situations that you might be asked to participate in. Get a hold of that. See, here's the deal. If there's something I know that could cause me an issue, and somebody comes and asks me to to participate in it, then at that point I need to make a decision. Correct?
Yes.
I have a choice to make, and the operative word here is ask. Those people are asking you to be involved in something that could, or maybe not, go wrong. Something could happen. Yes.
Okay. Is that going to be a positive situation or negative?
Well, see, and that's the deal. Usually it's a negative situation, right? The situation is negative, but the choice can be positive. So if somebody comes and asks you to be involved in something that is negative, what would be a positive reaction? No, I can't do that. I'm not going. I don't want to make an enemy out of that person, but I don't want to be involved in what that person's doing. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm not gonna lie to them. I'm not going to, tell them maybe later or something like that. I'm gonna let them know that I'm not going to be involved in that. You can do what you feel like you need to do, but I'm not going to be involved in that. What if these people tell you, "Hey, look, we're going to knock over that liquor store"? I'm not going to go do that, right? I'm not going to participate in that. Do you have any other pro-social obligations at that point? None? You said, nope, we don't have any. Anybody else have a different idea?
Yeah, you're going to say snitch.
You want to snitch?
You're going to say that.
I would. Yeah, I would.
You're going to say
Because we've got a person over here that's working hard, trying to make a living and all of that stuff, and you're going to go and take their stuff away from them and do all of that stuff. That's not pro-social at all. Not being upfront about it is, again, not pro-social at all. Especially if they're going to take a firearm into that place, that person could lose their life. Just because I didn't say something. So, that's another choice we have to make. One choice is pro-social, one choice is anti-social. So we need to be thinking about those things. But we need to think ahead. I get up in the morning making choices, right? You're going to make a choice every time you get up. When I come to work, I'm about 30 miles from here. I'll make a choice every morning on the way that I'm going to come to work. I can go out and get on Highway 10, come to work that way. That's a chance. Because sometimes you're going to do it. It's the quickest way to come. You're going to have a great deal going on there. The other day, I had one of the counselors call me and said, "Hey, I'm going to be late." Okay. Said, "Yeah, there's a traffic jam out on Highway 10. And this person got off Highway 10 and got on 124. That's the little road that runs, and it jammed up. If there's a big jam on the highway, 124 is going to jam up as well."
But they're going to take it reroute.
Yeah. So, but I know several different ways to go. So when I get up in the morning, I make a choice of which way I'm going. I'm always up early So I get in here early, and so sometimes I do a meandering way around. So it's just fun for me to go and ride through the country, and ride through this, and ride through some neighborhoods, and do all that kind of stuff. I give myself time to do that. I had a guy this morning. I'm in a neighborhood. He comes running around me in the neighborhood. The stop sign is probably from here to that wall, and he goes around me in a residential neighborhood, and did not stop for the stop sign and kept going. Now, that's somebody who slept almost up to time to go to work. Yeah, and he's chasing the clock to try to get there in time to punch in on time. So I want to do that in a different way. So think ahead of possible problem-causing situations you might be asked to participate in. Not just somebody telling you, look, we're going to do this, you need to go with us to do that. But you might be asking yourself to participate in something. You might be saying, well, I'm going to let that person know how I feel about them. Is there consequences to that?
Yes.
Absolutely. Some of them can be pro-social, some of them can be anti-social, but whatever your relationship with that person is about to change on some level. They may receive whatever you say to them. I've had people come and tell me, you've got bad breath. You're stupid, all these kinds of things. I've had people just come tell me all kinds of stuff. Sometimes it turned out to be a pro-social thing. When the guy came and told me, the lady came and told me I had bad breath, was that pro-social or anti-social?
Antisocial.
You were anti-social to you? Could it be pro-social?
Yeah,
I mean, it could be.
the rest of the group doesn't have to smell your breath.
Yeah, she came to me, she's a friend of mine, she came to me and said, hey, Doc, man, your breath stank.
Yeah. In the right way.
Yeah.
And not how she called it wrong.
Oh, yeah. And so in that situation, it was pro-social. So here's the thing. All of this requires the same thing. Think about what I'm thinking about. Now, I'm thinking about going to the movie. Is that pro-social or is that anti-social?
Pro-social.
Can be either one. Most of it can be either one. Going to the movies doesn't seem to be a big deal. I was watching a movie that you were watching yesterday, and it was a pretty good movie. I really enjoyed that movie. But, if you're supposed to be at work, that's antisocial, isn't it? That's antisocial. So, pro-social is you go and watch a movie. That's not. I don't watch movies that glorify drugs, alcohol, sex, violence. I don't go to those kind of movies. One of the things that the movie people don't seem to realize is that G-rated movies make 3 times as much money as R-rated. So, because they don't make many of them. So anyway, think about that. And then look, there's another little operation that we're going to do when we're finished here, and it's a test that we're going to take to check these things out. And it's the pokey seed test that we're going to see that. We're going to look at that in just a little bit. That's number 2. Number 2 is we need to test it. Now we can't really test it right now because we don't know what the test is, right? Can you test it without the test?
No.
Not on this scale, but you can test it in your own mind. How many people here have an IQ below 50?
I have no idea what my IQ is.
Yeah, I'm going to get us an IQ test, but there's nobody in here with an IQ below 50.
And like way under the middle of the park.
It is. And nobody in here has got that kind of IQ. Here's the deal. That means that we are all intelligent enough to know whether this thing's going to turn out right or not. So I can use that test, my own intelligence test. I know that. I know that if I go up there and I punch that guy, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Either he's going to run off screaming and crying and go home to mama, or he's going to, one of us is going to get beat down or something. Or if I'm going to go say something to that boss of mine, I need to say some stuff to my boss, and I feel like I really need to say it. And I do know that before I say it, there's going to be consequences. Some of those consequences that happen, we don't ever see them in ourselves. We don't see those consequences, but that person that we say it to, they hold that little bit of resentment. They hold that little bit of hurt feelings or something. And how long does that last? It can last forever. It can last forever. I use that little lady that I talk about all the time to show you how that part of your brain up there works. What's her name? Y'all don't know her as well as I do. Melody Jackson. Melody Jackson, when I was in like the 6th grade, said something nasty to me. It is still up here. So there's consequences to what you do. Now that little girl was not thinking of the consequences. She didn't know or realize or even think about the fact that for the rest of my life, I was going to be using her as an example. Of how you're just not going to forget that stuff. So before I say something to somebody that I feel like I need to say to that person, I need to realize that that person's going to have that stuck in their head the rest of their life. Rest of their life. It's never going to go away. You go tell somebody you think they're stupid. They will never forget you said that to them. Tell your kid you think they're stupid. You never amount to anything. When they're 45 years old working at McDonald's, they're going to know you said that to them. Yeah. They're going to know that's where you expected them to wind up. So that means we have to, when we're making those choices, whether we're going to be pro-social or anti-social in our thinking and in our actions, we have to be careful about what we are about to say. I need to think about my thinking. If I'm thinking about telling somebody that's over me something or under me something, I need to know. I need to have rehearsed that and know exactly what I'm doing.
You also need to think about what you say before you say.
Yeah, think about what you say before you say it. How would I feel if somebody said that to me? Yeah, I know I'm kind of a tender-hearted guy, you can hurt my feelings. I've had people hurt my feelings. I've had guys in here hurt my feelings a lot. I've had counselors hurt my feelings. I've had, just because I wear my feelings out on my shoulders, But I got it armored now because, once I got saved, the Bible tells us to put on the whole armor of God. So I'm in a little bit better shape nowadays. So we're going to test it, though. Whenever we have the opportunity to come up with something, whenever we have the opportunity to make a choice, we need to test it and make sure, look, we're going to make a choice. We're going to make a choice one way or another. We got to make sure that choice is the right one. So we're going to have to test it. Do I actually need to do? Is it an imperative? Do I have to do it? Do I have to say it? Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? It may need to be said, but it might better be said by Miss Cynthia. She's nicer, kinder, sweeter than I am. So maybe it's better said by her. Maybe I don't need to be involved in that at all. And so if it needs to be said, it needs to be said, but I don't need to be the one to convey the message. Maybe that's somebody else. So we're going to test it. And then we've been talking about this already, but this is number 3. Consider. Consider what that's going to do. Consider whatever my actions are, whatever I have decided that I'm going to do, whichever choice I'm going to make, how is that going to affect me and thee? Yeah, there's a lot of people involved in that. So how's it going to do? So consider the negative consequences if you did it. If I do this, what's going to happen? And one of the best things that this material tells us is we need to be able to share that with some people. There need to be people in your life. You need to have 1, 2, maybe 3 really close friends. You can go tell that person, ask that person, for some advice in that. If I do this, what do you think's gonna happen? If I quit, what do you think's gonna happen? Anybody ever quit a job? Yeah. And things happen because you quit that job. Sometimes you get a better job, right? Sometimes you get a job making more money. Sometimes you don't get any money at all. Sometimes, I've had people quit. And I say, one thing my dad never taught me much, but one of the things he did teach me was don't ever quit your job until you got another one.
Yeah.
Make sure you got a job to go to before you get rid of the one you've got now. And so here's the deal. I had a guy come tell me one time. I said, dude, he said, I'm just gonna leave. I said, well, you might ought to wait a little while. Everything's fine. You just wait a little. He wanted a raise or something. I said, you can't do that. He said, well, I'm going to get out here, and y'all won't be able to do without me. I said, well, probably we will. But do you have somewhere else that you're going to go? He said, I can get a job, man.
Like that.
Okay. A couple of weeks later, he came back. No, we were letting you go. It wasn't like we wanted you to be here. We just wanted you to stay that extra 2 weeks to help you get a job, But, so always make sure you have that before you take off from somewhere. Ask your peers. Ask people, if you think, well, look, how do you think things are going to go? Is this going to change? Is things going to get better? Things have been pretty crappy here for the last year. Are things going to get better? Are things going to continue this way? Or are they going to get even worse? What's the deal? We had a guy come in that was an efficiency expert. I was a safety guy at this little company, and he came in, he was an efficiency expert. And so we all know what that means, right? Everybody in the company going to lose their jobs and all of this kind of stuff. He was from France. The company in France bought our little company. And he came in there. One of the things he told us, he said, what I want y'all to get a hold of right now is that I'm okay right now. At this moment, he was practicing mindfulness, didn't know. He said, but at this moment, you're okay. You may not be okay a couple of days from now, but right now, you don't have to panic, freak out. Nobody's getting fired. When it was all over, the director of the program there was fired. He lost his position. They put somebody else in that position. But other than that, most of the people didn't. Most of the people were still there. But it was comforting for this guy to come and say, okay, here, all of these things, we're going to be making more money. We're going to get rid of this stuff. And I was a safety guy. I was on the supervisory level, and I had a guy come talk to me, and he said, these widgets that we make? I said, yeah. He said, y'all farming the widgets out, right? I said, yeah. They're going to be able to make them cheaper. They're going to be able to make them quicker. They're going to be in better quality than that. It's going to be a great thing. He said, for some people, but that's my job. I'm the widget maker. I said, okay, They moved him to another position, and he didn't lose his job, but he could have. And so, when we do things, they're what? Consequences. And those consequences may not fall on me. I did quit that job after a while, but it wasn't because of that, and that situation didn't fall, but it fell on him. And he had to become, instead of a widget maker, he became a welder's helper or something. But he did keep a job. So we've got to consider the negative consequences if we do what we're considering. There are going to be consequences. Some of those are going to be negative. Did y'all hear about Starbucks closing 500 of their stores?
No, firing 900 employees.
And firing 9 Starbucks. They could close every Starbucks on the face of the earth. That's the worst coffee I've ever had. It's not coffee. I don't know what that is. It's the nastiest thing that anybody's ever put in a cup. And people just think it's cool.
Yeah, they got people that live by it.
Yeah, they think it's cool. Look, yeah, okay. Don't know what that is. And so, it's just nasty stuff. So I don't care. So I have no consequences because of Starbucks closing. But a lot of people do. A lot of people do. They have decided to reorganize a little bit, and that's only 1% of their workforce. So it's not affecting the whole company, but for 1% of their workforce, they are finding out today whether they have their job or not. And this is all in the administrative department. This is like firing the people out behind that wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wouldn't affect us on the floor, but it's going to affect them. So all of these that are staying open, they're gonna be okay. But the ones that are closed, all those people are going. So there's consequences to that decision. Some bean counter somewhere said, "All right, we need to close all." I have been, we used to have cons all over the place.
Yeah.
Cons apply. Closed every stinking one.
Yeah.
And I'm so amazed. How could maybe you close some of them and leave maybe one or two, how can you close every one of the stores? Somebody had to be making money. They were more expensive than anybody in the world, so somebody had to be making a couple bucks, down there. So, and we had in our, not my town, but the town before my town, they had the Burger King burned down. So does that affect anybody? Yeah. People that worked there, it was a Burger King / service station.
Yeah.
And something happened, burned the whole place. I mean, it is flat to the ground, burned down. So if there are negative consequences, ask your peers, ask for advice. And here's something else, and this is hard for me. And it's hard for a lot of people. But practice saying no. Practice saying no. I have a lady in our church. She will say yes to anything. She will say yes to anything. Read the sign. So practice saying no. And she'll say yes to anything. If I said, look, we need somebody to lead our meeting, I'll do it. Okay. She's not bad. She's not a leader. We said we need somebody to be the church clerk. Okay. We need somebody to be the outreach person. Okay. Is she doing anything in any of those?
No.
She's not. Even if she was doing her best and all, you get enough hats. I know. I got 7 hats here. Even if you get enough hats, you can't do. Yeah.
Can't do it, no way.
No way. And you're doing whatever you are doing.
Half doing it.
Right. Halfway doing it. Just not doing it as well as you could do it. So and you don't have any time for self-care, stuff like that. That's why my wife and I are going on our little run. It's 2 weeks away from. That's a long time. Yeah. When I was at the prison, I had the warden out there tell me I had one of my people going out for 2 weeks, and the warden flat came out there. You dually supervised. I was the director, but even if I said yes, the warden could say no. Yeah. So you dually supervise. And the warden told me, he said, there's no way on the face of the earth that anybody needs 2 weeks off. We're going to Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. We need 2 weeks. We're not going to be able to. If you don't take 2 weeks, there's no way to do it. So, but we need to practice. We need to get to the place where we can practice saying no. Anybody here a people pleaser?
Yeah.
I am. And here's the deal. I want people to like me. It bothers me. Now, it does not. There's not a lot of consequences if people don't like me. I don't get a lot of consequences. That person gets a lot of consequences. They don't get the pleasure of my company, stuff like that. But I feel bad when somebody just doesn't like me. I want everybody to like me. That's because I suffer from perfectionism, and it causes you to become a people pleaser. Somebody help that. Yes, sir. Can we help you?
No.
How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Who are you waiting to see?
Mr. Somebody on council?
Okay, you're going, Miss. She's going to go. You don't have license to be in here, man. Don't go back there. Wait till she's going to go get the counselor. Let her get the counselor. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Are you really?
Yes, sir.
Still sober?
Yes, sir. You know?
I don't know it. That's why I asked. Well, thank you for disrupting our group so badly. All right, so here's the deal. Practice saying no. using the 5 C's. And you can do something good instead. If I look now, this is hard. This is hard. If there's somebody that's we really don't want to say no to, isn't it hard to say no?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. And I'm like that when Mr. Farmer says, "Hey Doc, you think you?" Yeah. My boss said, "Look, what we'd really like you to do is do a training on anger to the counselors. They're not really sure how to put that in a treatment plan." Okay. I have a little anger management program called Sundown Anger Management. Where do you think that name comes from? I always have people say, "Where does sundown anger? Where does that come from?"
You're supposed to get rid of your anger before sundown.
Exactly. In Ephesians, it says, "Don't let the sun go down on your anger." So that's what we do. So anyway, I got all my material, brought it up here, was ready to get, and so so I told her, absolutely, I can do that. And she got to talking and took up all of my time to do the teaching. So, yeah, hurt my feelings because I'm a people pleaser. I wanted to do that stuff. But I work really hard not to do that, and I do work at saying no. And sometimes you need to just say no. Now, you need to know where to put no. When your counselor comes in and says you need to do your treatment plan, is that a good place to put no? No, that's not. If somebody says, "Hey, you need to do this because it's illegal for you," we need to be able to do that. Everybody know Miss Valencia? She used to be a supervisor. We run her off, put her somewhere. She's a really good. So here's the deal. The last thing, what do you think it is? Act. That's a good idea. Congratulate. Who are you congratulating?
Yourself.
Yeah. Why are you going to congratulate yourself?
I'll do that.
When you do something right, when you make the right choice, when you do the right thing instead of the wrong thing, is that a good time to congratulate yourself? Absolutely. And you need to be able to reward yourself at that time. Now, I'm not a proponent of anybody eating candy or anybody eating ice cream or anything like that, but if you have to eat it, that's a good time to eat it. Right? You can go and say thank you to yourself for some of the good that you've done. Right? I made the right choice. So now I'm gonna make the wrong choice in my health. I'm gonna have a bowl of ice cream just to say that. So congratulate yourself. Though it's okay. Remember we talked a little bit about tooting your own tutor.
Yeah.
If you don't toot your tutor may not get tooted. So yes, sir.
Normally, that's good people most of the time. I just don't ride people to the Lord.
Say it to
I
me.
can go to the Lord most of the time.
Yeah. And that's good. See, and it's whatever it is that's going to be congratulatory to you. Doesn't have to work for everybody. It just needs to work for you. All right. So real quickly, we don't have a lot of time left. Sam?
That's good.
So we're going to go over these 4 steps real quickly. These are the tests, your four question POK test. So we got to be able to put it somewhere. So let's put it right here. There's only 4 of these. So we're going to hurry. We're going to do it in red. This is the PIU test. So what's a PIU test? Anything that somebody says, look, we're going to go do this, you need to stick the PIU test into it to see if you're going to say okay with it. Is any part of it
Illegal?
illegal? Illegal, immoral, unkind, unsafe, or unethical. Bunch of stuff there.
Yes.
If I'm going to look at that, I got to have this written down somewhere. Is it any part of it illegal? That's enough right there. Whatever it is it illegal? Then we don't do that. Don't do that. Let's see how fast this car can go. How fast can the car go? 55. It's on the sign right there. That's how fast the car can go. No, but it can go faster than that. Not until we get out on the highway, then it's 75. That's how fast a car can go. But no, it's illegal to go beyond that. Can't do that. Is it immoral? Think about that. It's immoral. I'm going to go steal something. Is that immoral?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Stealing is about the same as killing. Because somebody spent a portion of their life to work and to buy that stuff. That belongs to them. I'm going to steal it. It's like I'm killing them for that little portion of that time.
Or lying.
Or lying. Lying, yeah, that's immoral. I mean, not immoral. Yeah. And I'm a liar. And I'm right now in recovery from it. I'm trying my level best. When I catch myself lying again, I'm going to back off, stop. I'm not going to do it.
Now you just told him no.
What's that? I said I was going to try. I didn't say I was. If it's unkind, don't do it. If it's going to hurt somebody else, the Bible tells us God first, other people second, and then me. If it's going to hurt somebody else, even if it's for my good, if it's going to help me but hurt them, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Somebody says, go tell the boss what they said. Nope. Well, you will get the promotion. Don't want it. Not that way. If they want to promote me, they'll promote me. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not going to do that. There are sometimes I'm going to stick. There are.
We know that. You're a narc.
I am a narc. Yeah, I will do that. Because look, I want y'all to know this. I love you guys, but I am totally against drugs. And if you got some drugs that you want to sell to a 12-year-old or something, you finna get narked on. That's the right thing to do, and I do the right thing every time. Could get you in trouble. Could. With you, which I'm not scared of. I'm not scared of being in trouble with a drug dealer. I am scared of being in trouble with my God. So, yes, I'm going to tell on you. All right. So, if it's unsafe, a lot of stuff. I'm not going to do something that's unsafe. And I do stuff that's unsafe every day. I get in my car, and I drive to work. After a while, I'm going to drive over to the north. I'm going to drive back. I'm going to drive to my lunch. I'm going to drive home this afternoon. Is that unsafe? Yeah. Absolutely. That's an unsafe action for us to get on the road. Get out there and drive with all those other people. That's PIU. For short, we call it PU. That's the test to identify stinky, antisocial behavior on my part. Can I apply that to other people? Yeah, I probably can. Should I? No, maybe not. I should first apply it to myself. But then, somebody comes up and says, I can apply it to them. If that looks like they're in this situation, they're a good friend of mine, I might tell them, look, man, that's some stinky thinking. You don't need to be in that stinking thinking thing. You need to get away from that. Here's the other thing. Number 2. Is okay. Is it okay with my peers?
Is it okay what?
With my peers? People around me? Is it okay with them?
No.
Is it okay with the public? Would it be all right for people, other people in my town, in my neighborhood? My wife and I, in 23, we went to Mentone, Alabama. Mentone, Alabama is way up in the mountains. and they have a park right here that's called Brow Park. And that's what they call the edge of the mountain, is the brow, like this right here, the brow of the mountain. And so they call that Brow Park. Right across the street from Brow Park, there's a little road there. The Brow Park is probably no farther from that wall to the trees out there. It's just really short. Not really narrow, but it's kind of probably 2 blocks long. So it's a city park, so it's not very big. But right across the street, there's a road that runs there. Right across the street are people's homes. And there's signs up down through there, no parking, posted, not allowed in here, and all of that stuff. So it's not okay with those people for me to park my car over there in their yard, right? So guess what? I don't park my. I've been to that park a couple of times. I park in the park. They have parking spots in the park, so I don't park with it. Because it's not okay with me. Is it okay with the police that I do?
No.
If it's not, if I look at it and it's not, so those P's, the 3 P's, is it okay with my peers? Is it okay with other people, the public? And is it okay with the police? If it's not okay with the police, it's not socially acceptable. I'm not doing it. Right? That's what we need to look at. All right. Number 3 is just a big E. What that stands for is everyone. If everyone else did this, whatever I'm thinking of doing to me, would I honestly be okay with it?
No.
Would I like it if somebody came and did it to me? That's a good test. If they did it to me and I would not like it, is that a pretty good indication that if I do it to them, they won't like it? So if somebody does not like it, I'm not going to do it. If I'm thinking of going into somebody's room and stealing something from them, whatever it is, I need to think about, hey, you know what? How would I feel if somebody came in and stole my stuff? Would they like it? I don't like people, especially since I'm a pretty generous fellow. If you want it, come talk to me about it. I'll give it to you. Yeah. I would much rather give it to you than you come and steal it from me. So, all right. And C, this down here is a C. What's that for? Didn't make a very good C of it.
Congratulate.
What is it?
Congratulate.
Congratulate. Consequences. Yeah. Consequences. We need to think about the consequences. I have seen a lot of people, especially people in the anger thing, never think about the consequences. And when I'm sitting and talking to them about consequences, they'll tell me that I never thought that would happen. I never thought the police would come. I never thought the girl would leave me. We had a guy who, anger issues, drug and alcohol issues, had a AR-15, and as the girl was leaving with their 2 children, shot at the car 7 times. One of the bullets hit the headrest right there. He never thought about the consequences. And now he cannot ever have another weapon in the United States. That's a felony charge. He got charged with an attempted murder. He got charged with family violence. He got charged with discharging a firearm within the city limit. Everything they could do, everything. Everything. So today he can't have that. His wife is gone. Children are gone. And, all kinds of stuff. So there are consequences. I need to think about the consequences. That's a big deal. Am I prepared to suffer the consequences? Saw that guy that shot Mr. Kirk, and the police are talking to him. He's got a bulletproof vest on that he's wearing, and he's sitting there. He looks like, oh my God. But you know, his rest of his life he's done for. So consequences. What would happen if I do this? P-I-U. Is it okay? Maybe so, maybe not. So, how does this all hook in with your family?
Just you gotta think about how it's gonna affect you and your family.
Right.
Upcoming reactions.
Yeah. And that's the deal. And your family. Every thought, every action that I take affects me and my family and society. And they do. Every family represented here has consequences because of our actions. So, all right, questions, comments, or snide remarks? I think we did a pretty good job of meeting our group goals over here. And at North, I'm going to be over there, have a little meeting. But then after that, I'm going to be over there, probably around sometime around lunchtime, to get